Doing something for the first time is wild. And when you think of the outdoors, it's inherently wild. I think the most important thing for me is sharing an activity, sharing what I love with people that have not experienced that or have some kind of barrier related to it. The magic of being able to create that bond, that connection with an activity, a person, a place, that's special. Well, we'll roll right into the good old episode. So welcome into another episode of Sincerely Yours Outdoors. Here with Derek and Moleek in Washington Park. Is this your first time in Washington Park, Moleek? Or
Correct.
yeah, same
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
What did you think about the park? Just pulling in.
It was really cool. Very busy with younglings. I got caught behind some school buses. Yeah, I mean, not your typical urban park in the sense that, yeah, it's just pretty vast. I mean, obviously, I'd love to get around and hike some more, but it sort of reminds me of some parks in Washington State. You know? And of course, like Marin Headlands and just the access. And it seems like there's a lot of folks staff-wise just maintaining it like for that resource and things like that. So
Yeah.
how about y'all?
Yeah, Derek, what you think?
It's been great. I mean, the park system here is so robust. I mean, we've been to 4 or 5
Yeah, we've been to a few
parks by this point, and all are like really well maintained. Assets are great and robust. The breadth of opportunities in terms of like the ways in which you can recreate, from formal organized like soccer practice we saw yesterday to like hopping on a trail to like going to a playground to playing basketball. So it's really cool to see. I think this kind of fits still in that mold. So it's been awesome. What about you?
Yeah, it's been cool. The Hoyt Arboretum was really cool that we went through, and I'm looking forward to, pulling out and seeing the Rose Garden. I think those are amazing places and really tranquil for me. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, the park system is interesting here.
Yeah.
It's been interesting to learn, I would say, and compare it to some of the places that we live or reside in. So yeah, vast spaces. So happy to be here, though. Happy to spend it with you.
Yeah, thank you.
doubt.
Thanks for having me, y'all. It also reminds me of like the Bay Area, their park system, East Bay Regional Parks. I don't know if y'all have been to, well, you've probably been to the Bay, but there's grand access to all kinds of hiking trails. And I mean, that's how I grew up there in the 80s. It's just like always having access, always feeling safe, seeing other people like me, all of that kind of stuff. So this park's cool, but I don't see a whole lot of folks like us.
Yeah.
Be real. But, things are changing.
Yeah. That was definitely one of the sentiments that we felt when we came in, was like, yeah, aside from us setting up camera equipment, I'm like, oh, people are not like us. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to definitely experiencing the vast diversity that I'm sure at some point or currently we just haven't interacted with her in this space. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. So nonetheless, us three are here, and I'm happy to be here. And if no one else sees anyone like that, hopefully they see this video and they're like, oh,
Certainly.
you know, black people do enjoy
We
this
out
part.
here.
So
Yeah.
Yup.
we'll start something. So
Yep.
So we want to turn the floor over to you, Moleek. I know just a formal introduction of whatever you want to express in this space. You know, I know a little bit about you in the spaces that we share, but what are you interested in? What are you, you know, partaking in that you'd love to share, and kind of where's home for you right now?
So home's 31 miles south of Seattle in a town called Spanaway. And, you know, as I said, I have Bay Area roots. So I go down there when I can. But yeah, I think what I'm into, I mean, obviously the outdoors, I was raised as a privilege. Like my mom was always like, we weren't a Disneyland family.
Yeah.
So we were outside camping family.
Yeah.
Like roughing it, like cat hole. I learned how to dig a cat hole probably when I was like 7 or something, like crazy.
Can you give context to what a cat hole is? Too,
Yeah,
for people who
so
don't
like
know?
it is a hole that you dig when you need a toilet and there is no toilet around. And
Sorry.
I was like, all right, well, we're here.
Sorry to
we're,
put that on
we're
you,
doing
but-
it. Yeah.
real talk.
We
real
knew what it
talk.
was, but I was like, all right, I guess,
We're gonna teach
I guess
you.
we will clarify.
Yeah, I won't go into any more details.
It is what it is.
Research it yourselves. But
We gave you a foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, but what am I into? Obviously, you know, being impactful and influential to folks, maybe younger than myself who look like me, to create and own their space in a very intentional way. So that's like the work that I do behind the scenes with the organization I work for out of Washington Trails Association, as well as, you know, doing work on WRMC and other safety committees. So just me always speaking up for marginalized experience in this space is a passion of mine, getting into those difficult conversations. I spent a long time as a bouncer, sort of moonlighting while I was doing work with the SCA in Oakland. And so I loved going out with high school kids and doing trail work, but then it didn't pay all the bills, so I would, you know, bounce at night. And so it gave me quite a few skills in terms of situational awareness and conflict resolution management, things like that. So I try to bring that to the fold, that unique way of going towards the conflict, because there's a process and opportunity for resolve and growth and all of that. So I'm really into that. But in terms of like how I get my passions outside of the work and how I get a lot of my angst and energy out, which is something I started at 16 and still do today, which is playing metal music. I don't play in a band, but I have like a recording studio at home out of moving blankets. I created a space in my garage. It's pretty dead. And so I do all kinds of music. So that's really like my side passion. It's not really a hustle, just like something to like create, vent, and share with my community and my friends. What else? Of course, you know, all the outdoor stuff. I got a dog now, first dog ever.
Oh, wow.
He's a hound mix. His name is Bill. He's a pandemic dog. He was born in 2020, and he was roaming the streets of Seattle, and we got him as a second rescue. My friend couldn't handle him in the apartment, so we got him, and we just got him out of training, like discipline training. So now I'm like, have to be a discipline trainer. Like it is a different kind of leadership, y'all.
Yeah.
Having a dog. And I never really realized that before. So that's another sort of passion or interest of mine that I really love. So,
Yeah, nice. You mentioned like some of the transferable skills, you know, from being a bouncer to like how that plays within your perhaps day-to-day work. Were there like experiences even prior to, being a bouncer that led to, because everyone in the space doesn't feel compelled to advocate or be,
Yeah.
or be on the front line of justice work, so to speak, as broadly and as like lingo-y that justice and like applying that may be. Like, were there experiences that solidified, like, yes, I need to do this for you? Because oftentimes many of us get that calling, not all of us take it. So were there things or experiences that may have compelled you to be in that capacity and posture that you're in now?
I think that it was definitely a choice by scarcity. I needed work, but then I'm just good at it. The movie that you can watch, and every bouncer will agree, is Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, and I was oftentimes the cooler that he's called in that movie, where I can come and be cool, calm, collective in a situation. And I think that I gained that skill just growing up in the Bay Area and having to have your head on a swivel in some of the neighborhoods I grew up in. Richmond, California was one of them in the late 80s and early 90s during the crack epidemic. And just, so just already having a sense of situational awareness based on the conditions you're in within your neighborhood, that definitely helped. But for me, in terms of that skill set now, it's really hard for me to get into a bar and not sit by, watching the door or being able to turn that off. And even at work in this setting within conservation, I can't help but not acknowledge people's body language when I'm communicating. It sometimes allows me to have an advantage, but I need to be kind of constantly aware of that when I'm communicating, because not all people pick up on that, so. I think that kind of answers that question a little bit, but it's something I'm trying to turn off, especially the pieces around, I'll say it, like complex PTSD and things like that, so I was recently at my first rock metal concert. I went by myself Saturday, and I haven't done that in years because I've been in the scene, the loud noises, things like that. And all of a sudden, it was just we call it the walls were sweating. It's just like the party's going off. There's like a mosh pit. And all of a sudden, I just felt myself feeling absolutely safe in the chaos for the first time in a while. So
Interesting.
Y'all hear it first. I'm sort of coming out and getting more back into that scene, and didn't realize how healing it was for me, so
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And that perspective, I think, is definitely a through line for feeling safe in the chaos in terms of just being outside. Like externally, especially in an urban environment, we live in such close proximity with people. And I think in the most basic sense, like inherently the world wasn't built for that construct. We facilitated that. And going outside in some of these environments kind of brings you back to our ancestral connection of. While the world is so chaotic, there's so much things going on, this is a safe space, a really impactful space for you to unload, relax, connect with people like we're doing right now, and share stories. So thank you for sharing that. And that's definitely something that I connect with. But also your calming nature. Like every time that I'm around you, I'm like, it's Moleek. My guy. Yeah. So you're disarming for me. Every time that we've sat down and had a conversation, I feel the intentionality of you actively listening, which is important, but also just giving, solid guidance and feedback off of your experience. So thank you. I just wanted to express that in this space because I think that's really important. So thank you for that.
Right on.
Yeah. We know that you're a musician, but what are you listening to, kind of engaging with, either audio, visual, that you'd love to share? I think that's always, we feel like we are establishing an Oprah book club at this moment.
Okay.
So if you got books, I guess there's a Sincerely Yours Outdoors book club coming.
Yeah. So, full disclosure, y'all, I brought my little list. I've seen the show a couple times.
Moleek did his homework.
Yeah. And I'm not really good. There's so many great talented, especially young folks right now, picking up the mantle of music, and a lot of, there's not really there's so many subgenres out there now.
Yeah.
There's not really like a new genre of music, and I hope it happens someday. But in the meantime, what young folks are doing with what's out there is just incredible. So I have a clue. So movies, I just saw The Creator. Go see it. It's epic.
Okay.
I'm a sci-fi nerd, so of course I'm reading Dune before all of it comes out again. I think the 5th time around, the whole series. Yeah, I'm way into that concept of future sci-fi and ecological impact and politics. So Dune's a great one. I just saw the concert I went to was Resistant Culture.
Okay.
Amazing tribal grindcore band, if you will. Oceans of Slumber. These are some black folks that are in the metal scene. Beautiful voice, Oceans of Slumber. Peeling Flesh. Very heavy. Be careful. I can't say what's the contents about. I just like the music. And then Tsunami from Oakland. They're a hardcore band. But mainly what I've been listening to a lot is funk music.
Yeah.
PHONK. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's what do you call drifter music for drifting? Like it's the whole drift scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's trap, drill, hard beats, dark music with underlying hip hop lyrics that are very tucked back in the mix, if you will. Almost like somebody called on a phone and was just, kind of.
Yeah.
So funk music. Horrifying is the main band I'm listening to right now. Gets me by. I drove like 2 hours listening to funk music. So.
Okay. And you were not drifting.
Not in the element. Not in the element with the Yakima on top. Nope. That wouldn't be very safe coming down to a risk management conference.
That's funny. Dripping right into risk management.
Yeah. That would be hilarious. No, I'm as you know, don't text me when I'm driving, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm very by the book, but yeah. There's another piece of your question that I felt like kind of sparked something in the work I do now, shifting gears sort of more into the risk management piece. And, the Washington Trails Association, we do like trail work specifically. And when I got the job, they didn't have a risk management person. So I really use this analogy, like driving, and similar to your point about when you're in the woods or in urban parks and you encounter the different kinds of risks of just interacting with people as well as limbs falling and all that kind of stuff. When I first got it, I was equating it to all the micro movements and looks that you do when you're driving. Mm-hmm. When you're leading a crew of volunteers or staff or what have you, it's similar to that. It's just a little bit more slowed down, I think. It could get faster when you're running chainsaws and things like that, but
for sure.
and then having a lot of hood smarts. I know that's a kind of slogan or term that's being used, the hood smarts equating to wood smarts. But that's how I try to facilitate my mentorships and things of that nature with my staff and other folks who might be reaching out for sort of some advice around, how we operate safely in these environments, especially being marginalized. But that's all changing very rapidly. So it's also a way, I think of there's a compassionate piece to ushering folks who need to get with the times. 2040's around the corner, and everyone's it's just gonna be a multicultural place. So,
and for context too, I know what 2040 means, but would you like to share the importance of that year and what is on the horizon or expected to be on the horizon for 2040?
Yeah, thanks. I do that a lot. I assume everybody knows what. So 2040, according to the data is when the year when America will look the most multicultural and won't be so homogenized in terms of whiteness. So that's what I mean about that compassion piece about, you know, we need to guide people into this.
Yep.
And I can be really raw and have some really rough conversations with people, especially when they're in the wrong. But every time that I lead with more of that other piece of like, okay, well, let's try to find commonalities and things like that. There are times you just got to tell somebody, you know, what's up. But, you know, we've been sheriffed for so long that it's not very compassionate for us to do that. There's always another way, but yeah. And I find myself doing a lot of that work up in the Pacific Northwest. The challenging part is like all the ideologies and experiences that I had growing in the Bay, it's already there. You know, there's multiculturalism that is there. So coming up here, it was definitely a culture shock to like get the white gaze, for example, at the trailhead. What white gaze is when you are an individual or with a group of BIPOC individuals or like yourself, and then you sort of get stared at, and you loosely, oftentimes you'll get a comment like, are you with some sort of juvenile group, or, you know, I mean, insert here, right? The people listening probably know or have experienced that, but that's the real common one. So anyways, I'm sort of rambling now, so.
No, I prodded that question out of you, so you responded to that, so thank you.
Yeah, and to kind of like draw back, 2040 being coined as majority minority. So the nation being largely, the largest demographic being those of racial minorities. Leaning into that, what recommendations, as we're kind of like closing on time, or getting close, what recommendations do you have for largely the industry, as to, you've mentioned like risk management and mitigation surrounding that, but also more tangibly that can be applied? I mean, you kind of draw and brought a lot of that within the last conversation and question there, but what recommendations do you have for us collectively as consumers, stewards, participants? Because admittedly, everyone plays a role as to the way in which our future will be shaped, for not just 2040, but our lifetime as well.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot to that. It's so interesting because, you know, PGM, people of the global majority, are the globe. Like, so really that minority are in those westernized, colonized states. So it's not a new concept globally. But I think one piece of advice, because oftentimes when you get and you start working with like white-led organizations, they want some kind of concrete value or action item or something you can do, right? Well, this is one way. And what I did when I hit WTA was we started collecting exclusion incident reports. So, and oftentimes you'll encounter some bucking against that, white supremacy culture, especially. And one of the main like points of like argument was like, what do we do with that data? Like, which is the right to comfort, right? Which is the right to white folks being scared to tell on somebody or change, or there's a lot of like sort of systems and scaffolding based on that. But I encountered that a lot. What do we do with this data? What do we do? And the question is, well, what have we done with like rolled ankle data? We analyze it, we train, right? And we become better. So it's the same concept, except that there's more story involved. So, and that's important to me. I want to see the stories. And I think that there's a lot of organizations out there, especially government affiliated, that don't have that process. And I'm not going to name them on this podcast, but we know what we're talking about. But yeah, I think that that's a big one, is getting on board with helping us tell these stories, because it is indeed happening still. And not just something that, back in the 50s, NPS had segregation of parks. It's still happening. It's just more systematically and more having to do with people's ideologies and fears and things like that. So if we can tell these stories more and keep them up front, whether we're a nonprofit or government agency or a for-profit organization, it's important. So I think that's just one thing that I can leave the folks at home with, y'all with, for that end of it. It's a good, powerful tool.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Moleek.
Yeah.
Last question as we wrap up. What's your next adventure? You doing anything? I think we know some things once you get back, what you're going to be up to. But well, do you have any personal or even just recreational ventures that you're looking forward to this year, next year, or even?
Yeah. So, my dog Bill, I couldn't get him out hiking a lot because he's so reactive to other dogs and people. But that's changed since the training. So getting way back more into hiking, owning my space wherever I'm at it with my dog. And then music projects always. You can, shameless plug, look me up, Moleek Busby.
Yeah.
I got a reggae thing out there. I got some metal projects, more to come. That's mainly it. Harvesting apples, as I mentioned earlier. I got a lot back at home I have to press. Just feeling very blessed. And trying to live my life that way.
For sure.
More joy, whatever that brings. And also trying to get more social. I haven't been as much since the pandemic. And so, just getting out more, hanging out with friends and going to shows and things like that. So,
Yeah, definitely. And we can stay connected with you through Instagram?
Yes.
Moleek Busby?
Yes.
That easy?
That easy. Or Moleek B, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Moleek B. LinkedIn. I don't do Facebook because there's a civil war going on there, and I'm not having that right now. But yeah. Hey, y'all. Those are the two. That's basically it. Yeah.
Cool.
Great. Well, we'll stay plugged in. So,
No doubt.
as always, great to see you, my brother.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for the time. And it's a wrap, guys. Yeah. Nice.
That was great.
11:42, Moleek.